children to be active has to have the word fun in it.
Well, in the last 20 years, the issue with childhood obesity has risen. We've seen it even more so more recently than 20 years. And we're seeing that children are having more issues with hypertension, with asthma, as it relates to obesity. I think some of the contributing factors are children are more sedentary. Years ago, you saw children out, they were riding their bikes, they were playing. You know, children are involved in sports now more so than before. However, they're also more involved with the computer, with television, with video games.
There are more in-home technologies, shall we say. It is just much more comfortable for children to remain home inside, in the inside environment, and utilize videos and watching TV and that sort of thing.
And just in general, society is busy. And I think that this has a lot to do with it, because we're not focusing so much on planning that healthy meal, sitting down as a family to eat, discussing the day's activities.
We are constantly on the go, eating on the go, grabbing food from fast foods, spending a significantly less amount of time eating our family meals around the table.
I think there's a bit of a disconnect between what is a healthy diet and the amount of things that children and parents are involved with on a daily basis.
A huge contributor is the fact that our portion sizes of our foods have significantly increased. From within the past 20 years, we know that all the portion sizes at fast food restaurants, at sit-down restaurants, as well as the recipes in our cookbooks, all of the portion sizes have increased. And with that increase in calorie intake, we have seen a decrease in physical activity.
The Wellness Adventure is comprised of 3 components: the physical activity component, a social emotional component, and a nutrition component.
Children should be getting 60 minutes of exercise every single day. My goals for the program was, number 1, show children ways to have fun. Number 2, show parents ways to have fun acting and being involved with their children. And 3, providing a whole different way, very creative ways in getting children to move. A lot of times as the children were older, the older grade sessions, I incorporated a lot of academic types of activities along with the movement. And it's just another way of reinforcing learning. Types of things that I did in the program were all based on basic motor movement or motor skills. I utilized locomotor activities, non-locomotor activities, and manipulative skills. And I created different ways to run, different ways to skip and hop, different ways to throw and catch. And we put them into different environmental settings every single week, because we visited a new country or a new place around the world every single night. Well, when we went to the Caribbean, we went on we went scuba diving, if you can imagine that. We went scuba diving and we went on a treasure hunt. And so what they had to do was they had to maneuver different ways that different sea creatures had to move. For instance, crabs. We bent our creativity a little bit, and we galloped, even though seahorses do not have legs, and we galloped. Of course, we wiggled very, very crazily with fish. And then what we did was we talked about what animals can do this and what animals can do that. When we went to Africa, we went on a safari, and we talked about, you know, how animals move quickly, how animals move slowly, what animals are tall, and what animals are very, very small and low to the ground. So those are a couple ideas.
The nutrition part of this particular program is really geared at providing interactive, hands-on, fun activities that the child and parents engage in together at some point and separately at other times, and really focusing on the basic nutrition principles of the food guide pyramid and explaining the role of all of the different groups within the food guide pyramid, and really exposing children to those very elementary principles of what we put into our bodies does indeed significantly impact how our bodies are going to perform. The subject, specifically the nutrition piece of the program, is presented to children in a very fun fashion. We have a small amount of a didactic lesson presented by the registered dietitians, but the bulk of our time is really geared towards having an interactive program, so that the children are having fun, and that the types of activities that we might do would be simply to have children pull a plastic food model out of a paper sack and try to guess what particular food that is, and then what particular food group that model belongs to. It's been valuable in teaching them and exposing them to some new foods, and then we take it that one step further, and we will have them taste a lot of these new foods. And it has been helpful. You know, the children have been very receptive to trying some of these new foods, and have encouraged parents to bring some of those new foods into the home.
When people generally look at wellness or look at obesity, many times they will focus on nutrition, they'll focus on physical activity, but we felt that it was important to include the social-emotional component.
It's a component I think that's often forgotten about in regard to children and parents' well-being, and since our project has been focusing on trying to reduce childhood obesity, it's a sort of a missing component. We focus on how they experience feelings. We have them role play different feelings, and we teach them various coping strategies. For example, one of the coping strategies we teach all the kids is to use something called a turtle technique to deal with anger. And so they get some skills in coping, and they get some practice in expressing their feelings and in learning what feelings are difficult for them to express. I talk to parents about their whether they and their children match each other in regard to their temperaments or personalities, and what it means if they do or don't. I also work with the parents in identifying the kinds of things that push them to eat, the amount that they eat, the things that they eat, where they eat, etc., and explain this from what I call and others call a biopsychosocial perspective. What kind of things push us to eat biologically, what kinds of things in our society teach us to eat in certain ways, or even in our own families, and how we pass this on from one generation to the next, certain eating habits. And then just psychologically, how if we're not dealing with our emotions or we're very stressed, it's possible that this will affect our eating habits in one way or another, eating in excess, eating or not eating well enough. I also work with the parents in helping them develop a skill that's referred to as emotion coaching, which I explain to them no parent can do 24/7, but that the more we do it, the better the experience for themselves and also for their children. And this is based on an individual named Gottman on his ideas about the way parents respond to their children's emotions. So it teaches sort of a good, it teaches and emphasizes the development of emotional intelligence. And would do that with the parents, but also do it with the children too, to get a sense that it's okay, for example, to be angry. It's okay to have negative emotions as part of being human, but in excess or when this hurts or harms someone else, it's not okay.
When we developed a wellness adventure, we thought that it was very important to include the parental component. We felt, yes, that we needed to educate the children on the importance of movement, physical activity, the importance of the food guide pyramid, and how nutrition plays a role in their life, and how their feelings play a role. However, we felt that if we just educated the children, when they got home, the parents were not going to be understanding what the children were learning. They may not carry through with the activities.
Well, number one, it gives them an opportunity for some quality time together, which is very, very important. It gives them the opportunity to see what their children can achieve, where they're at in relationship to their movement skills with other children their age. And it also shows them how with the opportunities for the children to move, how they improve upon those skills.
It really amounts to accountability on both parts, so that the children know that the parents have heard something, and if the parents start to fall into some of the old habits, the children can step up to the parents and say, hey, we learned about making these choices. Can we buy these apples at the store? Can we try this kiwi that we tried last week? Oh, we have that new recipe that we got on Monday night. Do we have everything? Can I help you make that?
Probably one of the most wonderful things about the program that I've experienced is seeing the parents get involved. They need to talk about some of the issues they have. They need to understand and get some feedback about how their parenting skills are efficient and very good, and how maybe they're deficient in some ways in an environment where they're not being judged, and that's not threatening for them.
Well, my hope for the future with this program is for physical educators to just look at the different ways I incorporated very fundamental movement activities, and really allow the children to explore and be creative in the physical education class, in the gymnasium setting, and take them on imaginative explorations and adventures.
What we have seen on a repeat basis in all of our programs is feedback from the parents and the children that they've tried new things, that it's not as hard as they thought it was going to be. How children and parents would come back week after week after week, and even the smallest of changes they would be excited about. They would talk about trying some of the new recipes. They would talk about how they did the exercises, and that's both the physical activity exercises as well as just some of the readings or the homework that we would send home.
It wasn't therapy, but it was a group of people who I felt really needed to talk, and they appreciated having that opportunity. I taught the parents the turtle technique, and I had some of the most unlikely people actually use that technique and tell their stories about it. So it was a sharing time for parents. I think it's an essential part of the program.
I think one of the most sort of touching comments that we got from a parent was the fact that their child repeatedly wanted the parent to read the storybook night after night after night that we had given them. That was nutrition based, but it was age appropriate. And they, like night after night, the child would say, "Mom, can we read that story again?" Because we had distributed a variety of resources, but storybook that was nutrition, had a healthy nutrition message. And that was really fun to see, so that the child was motivated and enthusiastic, and the parent then had a tool that they could use.